Hi there, Steve Stine here again. What I want to do now is I want to talk to you a little bit about basic finger picking. Okay? It's just going to be a basic pattern that you can start exploring if you've never done finger picking before. And for this basic finger picking pattern, we're going to be using our thumb, we're going to be using our first finger and our second finger. We're going to use those three. Okay? Here's what we're going to do. We're going to make a D chord with our left hand. So hopefully you've done D before. You're going to take your first finger and place it on the third string, second fret. You're going to place the middle finger on the first string, second fret. And then you're going to place the third finger on the second string, third fret. And always remember, the goal to a chord is always make sure you can get as close as you can to the fret, the silver bar, without actually getting on top of it. It'll make it easier for you to play. You need less pressure to press the strings down, all that sort of thing. So think about where your shoulder is, think about where your elbow is, and certainly think about where your wrist is. Don't have your wrist, grabbed up like this. Keep your wrist down a little bit so you can get your fingers, I always call it, cat's claws, where you curl your fingers around a bit more. So when you're playing, you can miss the strings underneath. So you make sure that each one of your individual fingers are only touching the string that it should be on. That way you get nice, clean chords, instead of that sort of thing when you try and play. You got to get on those fingertips. So be very strategic about the way your arm is sitting, about the way your wrist is sitting, and certainly about the way the fingers are curled when you grab onto that guitar. If you're back like this, you're going to start touching everything. You got to curl up a little bit. So, finger picking. What we're going to do is we're going to use the bottom four strings, which is the D chord, and we're going to use these three fingers. You're going to use the thumb, first, and second fingers. So the way you're going to pick this is what I refer to as picking toward the floor. And what you're going to do is you're simply going to pick the fourth string with your thumb, the third string with your thumb again. It's called double thumbing. A lot of people call it that. And then the second finger, the first finger is going to go on the second string. And then the middle finger, is going to go on the first string. So you have thumb, thumb, first, second fingers. Thumb, thumb, first, second. Now before you try that, what I want you to think about here is when you're making a finger picking pattern, kind of think of it like a thumbs up. Okay? So what I'm doing is I'm coming across the guitar like this. I'm not sitting like this. I'm sitting more just kind of parallel with the guitar like this. Okay? And I've got my thumb out here with my other fingers kind of cut back here. And the reason is if I put them together, they run into each other. When you're trying to finger pick, you're going to keep running into each other. So the goal is to keep your other fingers kind of back, cut back here a little bit with your thumb out. So when if I pick all three of these fingers at the same time, see, this one still stays here and these two kind of come up there. So they're not running into each other like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of try and flow through here going thumb, thumb, first, second. Okay. Now you'll notice as I'm picking, the fingers just kind of stay close. I'm not going like that. They're staying close to the string, so when I need to come back, they're already there. They're already ready to go. So your fingers are just sort of recoiling and getting back to the spot that they were in to get prepared to do the picking again. Okay? And again, speed has nothing to do with this. It does not matter how fast you do it. What matters is how well you do it. And the reason that that's so important is because if you can do it really well, chances are you can do it quite fast. It's never the opposite, and I spend more time with students trying to get them to understand that. If you can make something of quality, it doesn't matter how many things you know. What matters is you know some things and you're really good at those things, because then you can develop some more things and get really good at those. Otherwise, you have a slew of ideas and you really don't know how to use any of it, or none of it really sounds very good, which is one of the reasons why people look for videos like these, is trying to figure out how to make something sound better, how to make them understand it a little better. So please remember that. It's not how fast you can do it, it's how well does it sound. If the chord isn't working, that's not the right hand's fault, it's the left hand's fault. You got to go back, you got to figure it out, and you got to rebuild it. Figure out what's going wrong. Is it your wrist? Is it your shoulder? Is it the placement of your elbow? Are your fingers touching the wrong strings? Whatever it might be, you have to just kind of slow down and concentrate on that. Think about the finer things and then figure out what's happening there and then build it. Because it's not that you can't do it. That's something that I hear quite often too. It's more what's going wrong and how do you fix it. So we got our chord, we've got our picking pattern here. The other thing I want you to think about is the placement of your pinky on the guitar. okay? Some people like to brace their pinky down onto the body of the guitar, or they'll kind of grab onto the first string, which in this case really won't work because we do have to pick that first string. So if we were grabbing onto the first string with our pinky, the string wouldn't work. So we got to scoot back a little bit with that pinky laying on the guitar. Okay? And the reason you're doing that is it's kind of like writing with a pencil. When you write with a pencil, you brace your palm down, or this side of your hand, I should say, the karate chop side of your hand. You put it down and you write with your fingers. You know, you don't write up in the air like this. Okay? Well, we can't set the palm down because we'd be laying on the strings, and that causes a whole other story that we're not going to talk about right now. Okay? So what you can do is use your pinky to grab on. That sort of stabilizes the movements of your hand. See how I'm kind of grabbing on there with my pinky? Okay? Now, if you find that to be extremely uncomfortable and you don't want to do that, then what you have to understand is you're really just locking from the elbow. Okay, when you come across like this, you have to hold that whole thing sort of still, really tight, and then same thing, it'll work just fine. It's just whatever's more comfortable for you. Okay? So for now, don't worry about a bunch of other chords and things. Just use D, and the reason we're using D is because we have 4 strings that we can play that are adjacent to each other. And I can just flow towards the floor. So 4th string, 3rd string, 2nd string, 1st string, 4th string, 3rd string, 2nd string, 1st string. Just over and over and over. Don't worry about how fast I'm playing it. I'm just trying to show you the example of it. What you're trying to do is get comfortable with whether you're going to use the pinky, using these fingers to pick, whether you're going to be, you know, tightening up from the elbow, trying to put your chord in the right place next to those frets, all of those sorts of things. And again, I can't stress to you enough, it's those things that you really want to work on, because once you get good at that, the rest of it all falls into place. So good luck with that. I will talk to you soon.